Hey, it's Adrian. Today I'm taking a look at the Royal Kludge RK96 mechanical keyboard with brown switches. Now, I did recently review the RK84 keyboard, but for those of you who prefer a fuller keyboard layout or a keyboard with a numpad like myself, the RK96 is worth considering. I was sent the RK96 for review, but I'm going to share my uninfluenced thoughts with you. So let's get started. In the package, we have the RK96 mechanical keyboard. We have a magnetic wrist rest, a 6-foot long USB Type-C to Type-A cable. We also have 4 replacement switches, a keycap and switch puller, and the manual. The design of the RK96 looks really good, so it's a pretty much, white type of build, so it's going to suit any type of light or white colored setups. Now, one thing I'm really happy is that they've included a matching wrist rest, and you can see because of the shape of the keyboard, it would have been challenging to find a compatible wrist rest because of that kind of cutout there. So you can see this is magnetic, so it easily snaps into place and it follows the keyboard around. However, it's not powerful enough if you were to lift the keyboard and move it somewhere else on the desk. You can see it's coming apart there. But it stays in place for the most part once you have everything set up. Looking at the underside of the magnetic wrist rest, you can see that we have 4 rubber feet here just to keep everything in place. Taking a close-up look of the RK96, so you can see from this front angle here, if you don't have the magnetic wrist rest, you can see the logo right there. Now, one thing else to notice is that some of the keys do have the secondary functions printed on the top of them. Now, depending on what you prefer, you may find that a little bit busy. At first, I thought it was going to be busy, but I'm not really noticing it right now. The rear of the keyboard has a Type-C port for charging or to use it in wired mode, and you also have 2 USB-A pass-throughs. On the back of the keyboard, it's a pretty much all clean white type of look. So we do have a switch here to put it from on or off, and we do have a switch to switch it from Bluetooth to wireless mode. The wireless adapter is magnetic like on most keyboards, and we do have 2-stage adjustable feet right there. And we also have rubber feet as well to keep everything nicely in place. There's a side view of the keyboard so you can get an idea of the keycap profile. We also have a volume control roller at the top here, and you can see that it's ridged or ribbed, and we also have a mute button here that provides tactile feedback. Now, at first when I looked at the photos of this, it looked a little bit cheap to me, but in person it actually looks kind of nice. I'm kind of wondering if it would have looked better, just all white to match the rest of the keyboard, but let me know what you guys think about it. One thing you might have noticed with this keyboard is that some of the keys are repeated. So you can see that we have the delete page down keys, for example, but we also have them replicated on the other side. So you do have the option to use the side of the keyboard that you find preferable. For those of you who prefer to use Type-C all the way, you can go from either USB Type-A to USB Type-C, just like that. Here's a comparison of the RK84 against the RK96. So the RK84 pretty much ends in line here, so right around where the right arrow ends. And you can see that the bezel on the RK84 is much thicker than the bezel on the RK96. So if I line them up side by side this way, you can see that the RK84 is deeper than the RK96. The keyboard has a little bit of heft to it, so it comes in at about 2.4 pounds or 1 kilogram, and that's with the magnetic wrist rest included. When it comes to lighting, they've just done a phenomenal job on the RK96. Now, there is only one preset color, which is this kind of light blue or baby blue. There is no full RGB, and at first, I have to say I was a little bit disappointed that I wouldn't have the option to switch to, white or green or whatever I wanted to, but now that I've seen how well this light blue works and pairs with the keyboard and just how well it shines through with the keycaps, I'm not disappointed at all. There's 20 preset lighting modes, so I'm just going to cycle through those right now. So you can see we have certain keys lit up, and there's a way to program that, and I'll get into that later, which is super handy. We also have a glow. So you can see there's really a ton of lighting effects on here, and you're not going to get bored. Of course, you can adjust the lighting effects to your liking. So if I go all the way down, that cuts it completely. That's the first level, so you can see it's very dull, and then you can go all the way up to the brightest. You can also slow the effect down or speed it up. The keyboard has north-facing LEDs, and that pairs really nicely for the most part, because you can see on a lot of these keycaps, the transparent portion is towards the top end. However, if we look at the end key, for example, the 1 is illuminated nicely. However, the secondary illumination on end, you don't get to see that as well unless you press it down. You get a little bit more light output, but for the most part, you're only seeing whatever's illuminated on the top end of the keycap. If at any time you want to reset any of the lighting effects, you would just hit Function and long press on the spacebar, and that takes you back to the default. For reference, this is what the keyboard looks like with everything turned off and then back on again. So if you're on the fence about just having this one preset color, kind of like I was, I would say I don't think it's going to be a problem for you. The way that they've implemented, the color, just the effect, how well and how nicely everything comes through and shines through from the keycaps, I think you're going to be really pleased and happy with how it looks. So if you're playing a specific game and you only want, WASD and whichever other keys you use for that game, it's so easy to do that. So first you would hit Function 1. And you can see that takes us into the first color profile, and you can have up to 3 color profiles for 3 separate games or applications. So now that we're in the first color profile, we'll hit Function Back, and that puts us into this type of editing mode. So I'm going to hit WASD. Those are the keys I always use. Maybe R for reload, space for jump, control for crouch, whatever. And whenever I've set my keys how I want it, I hit Function and Back to save that profile, and that's now saved to the keyboard. Now, if I'm in, a regular lighting mode and at any time I want to launch that game and access that profile, I would just hit Function 1 and it's ready to go. The typing experience on the RK96 has been pretty enjoyable so far, again, partly due to having this included wrist rest. That just really adds to the typing experience for me. Now, I did get this with the brown switch, and it does come in blue and red switches as well. Now, one of the characteristics with brown switches is that when you're hitting the actuation point, there's a slight bump that you can feel, and I do feel that when I'm pressing the keys down slowly. However, when I'm typing and I'm just going at it in the zone, it's not something that I've noticed. I would say that the keys do have a little bit more wobble than on the RK84, so let me demonstrate. So if I just place pressure on the edge here, you can see that it does wobble a bit. However, on the RK84, the wobble, it seems a little bit less pronounced. Now, it's not anything I've noticed, or it's not anything that's impacted my typing because I'm never hitting it on the corner. It's always in the middle of the keycap, so not an issue. If you're planning on using the RK96 for gaming as well, I don't think you're gonna have any issues. The brown switches are very responsive, they pop back up very quickly, and it also does offer end key rollover support. There's a lot of tactile feedback when you're typing, and I'll let you be the judge of, the sound or noise level. I don't think it's too loud considering that they're brown switches, so I think you can get away with this in an office type of environment, but here's a quick test again. The sound profile from the RK96 is actually pretty good for the price. So you can hear, if I go across the keys, for the most part, it's a pretty consistent type of sound. Obviously, the space part, it sounds a little bit more hollow just because it's a much larger keycap, but there's nothing really glaring or obvious that really sticks out when it comes to the sound. There's 2 layers of high-density silencer foam in the keyboard, which helps with vibrations and the overall sound profile. To check the battery level on the fly, you would just hit Function and Enter, and you could see that I'm at about 80% right now. The RK96 comes in white or black. There are 96 keys, which are ABS double-shot keycaps. Switches come in blue, red, or brown, and the switches are hot swappable for 3 or 5 pin. The built-in battery is 3750 mAh. Bluetooth 5.0, 2.4 GHz wireless and wire mode are supported. There are 2 built-in USB pass-throughs. The software is compatible with Windows only. There is end key rollover support. Alright, so I've downloaded the RK96 software, and you can see here there's some preset profiles. You can also add additional profiles as well if you need it, and you can remap keys and whatnot. There is also a macro section if you use that, and of course you have the lighting section. Now, there is a really important setting here, which is sleep time. The default's 5 minutes, but you can set it to no sleep. So if you're gonna leave your keyboard plugged in and you never want it to go to sleep, you can adjust that in the software. I haven't found a command for the keyboard to do this. It would be really handy if that existed, but for now, you would have to use software. You can also go and set up custom lighting effects if you want, but you can do that with the keyboard commands like I showed. And there was a firmware update for the keyboard. I did apply it. I'm not sure what kind of fixes, accompanied that firmware update, but it is here if you want to do that. So if you're considering the RK96, I think it's a great option. Build quality is excellent. I mean, there's nothing super standout about the keyboard, but it's solid, it performs well. Typing experience has been good. So has the gaming experience as well. I'm happy that it comes with, an included wrist rest. You don't have to go out and get that additionally. And of course, you also have, M key rollover support. I think the biggest thing you have to ask yourself is if you're going to be okay with having, this light blue color instead of having, full RGB. But like I said, it's been implemented really well. It looks sharp. It just looks really, really well done. And it comes with a ton of different color modes, so I don't think you're going to get bored with it. And if you decided to just use this keyboard with it, completely off, keyboard also looks really nice just as is. I'm going to leave a link below so you can grab this keyboard if you're interested, and you can also use my affiliate code DCT for 10% off. Keep in mind this does come in black or white if white isn't your thing. And as always, if you found this video helpful, please consider liking and subscribing. It really does help me out a lot, guys, and I'll see you in the next one soon. Bye.